Hello, beautiful people of the internet. Welcome back to the Games and Culture Podcast. It's been a bit.
Yeah,
We've
it's been
it's been a bit.
June. June was a wild month, personally. Won't go into details, but it was not fun.
Yes.
So
We got our Switch
things
2s. We just have been playing Switch 2 stuff, taking a
that too.
bit of
That's,
a hiatus.
that
But we're
was the highlight of the
back.
month of Switch 2.
Yeah, for sure. We're back, bringing you the news. Unfortunately, we wish we had better news to bring you, but we will get into that later.
There are some good news. There's a lot of bad news.
Yeah, there's always
Which
some good news out there, but
the big story is what you all figure it was going to be, and we're going to talk about that.
is there a flaming Xbox logo on the thumbnail? Probably.
Yes. Yeah. That's we done in post. We know it's gonna happen.
Yes. But before we get into all the depressing stuff, let's talk about the fun stuff. What we always start off these episodes with what we've been playing. And I mean, for the month of June, pretty much our months were dominated by Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, everybody would like to tell you that there's not much to play on this console, and there may not be in terms of exclusives. We have been still getting our mileage out of them for sure. Me personally, I've been playing. Oh, go ahead.
I always say the argument. Oh, there's no games. Well, the system just came out.
Yeah. Do I think that the launch library could have been better? Sure.
Sure. But Breath of the Wild was the only one that really at Switch 1 launch. So this thing has Mario Kart World and the Switch 1's library, which going kind of, I guess we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
What you were playing on it.
Yeah, we won't go into too many details here. We'll give just impressions and kind of stuff we've been playing on them. We are going to do a full Switch 2 review in the near future, so look out for that for our like full breakdown of stuff. But I mean, I've been playing a large variety of things. Obviously, I've been playing Mario Kart World. Very, very fun. Very, very good. No complaints there. I've been playing the Bravely Default remake on there. Very good. Very good. No complaints there. Not really noticing a whole lot of the remake of it. It looks pretty, just a little bit cleaned up, and it looks like the 3DS version, but, whatever. Still a great game. But I've been playing a lot of my Switch 1 library on it. Been playing some Scarlet and Violet. It doesn't fix all of Scarlet and Violet's problems, but it fixes a lot of them.
It is an actual game now at this point.
Yes. Is it a good Pokemon game? No. Is it better now with the Switch 2's power? Yes. It's no longer an abomination. Yeah. No, not as much pop in. The game runs at 60 FPS, which is super nice. And it almost gets me excited for Z to A in a few months. I did do because I was on a Pokemon kick, I did do another playthrough on Shining Pearl. Also, that game ran fine on Switch 1, ran fine on Switch 2. Played a lot of other games, Valkyria Chronicles, Octopath Traveler, just kind of checking things and see how everything works out, and everything was fine. Switch 1 library is amazing. I did buy the upgrade pack for Tears of the Kingdom and check that out, and holy fuck. Holy shit. I think Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to be a Switch 2 game. Like, seeing how well it runs on Switch 2, my official headcanon now is that Switch 2 was supposed to release in 2023, but they held off because they knew that they could get some more Switch sales before releasing Switch 2. Because there's no lag there's no frames drops when you use Ultra Hand. Like, the game looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, like no technical issues at all. So I truly believe Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to be a launch title for Switch 2. That's my official headcanon. It may be true, it may not be true, but like, wow.
Yeah, I can see. I kind of have. I haven't played that. I need to check that out because I wasn't too much into the Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild formula, but I have been playing Echoes of Wisdom on my Switch 2. That was a Switch 1 game that came out last year. And I watched the Foundry's initial video on it back in September when the game came out, and it chugged on the Switch 1 for some reason. The open world, it dipped into the 30 frames often. like you question why, because it's not that much of a looker. It's a cute game, but it shouldn't have been running that terribly on the Switch 1.
Yeah.
Whatever was causing the issue on Switch 1 is gone on the Switch 2. It is 60 locked no matter where you're at. No dips, nothing. And I really enjoy it. I kind of prefer this type of Zelda game, like the top down compared to the other formula. But still, the fact that that's running well. I've been playing Mario Kart World. Do like that a lot. There's some weirdness to it. It definitely is the most different Mario Kart. And I could see someone be really into this differences. I can see people like, because the differences, but that's for another time. But yeah, no, everything feels the eShop feels snappier.
Yeah.
Everything just feels better with it. One thing I've been saying to people, because I've been bringing this thing with me because there's a couple of conventions lately in Indianapolis. So I went to. So while I've been staying in lines for meeting people or whatever, I brought my Switch on and whipped it out. Some people asked me like what to think about because they weren't sure. The way I described it is it doesn't have the same revolutionary feel the Switch 1 does. The Switch 1 was the first of its kind.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that wow factor. However, what this thing does is just doing what the Switch 1 did, but better. Everything is stable now. I haven't played Bayonetta 3, but I've heard that it runs at lock 60 now. I've mentioned Zelda. You mentioned Tears of the Kingdom. The games are just running better right now, and frankly, that's all we wanted out of this thing was just to do what we was already doing, just stable.
Yes.
And I've seen other Digital Foundry videos on it. Talking about Street Fighter 6, and it's the Street Fighter 6 version for this system is comparable to the Series S version. So I thought we were looking at somewhat. I mean, the Series S is kind of a last gen console, but it is current, so things you always have to run on it. So if a game can run on a Series X, it should be able to run on this.
Yep.
Which means we could get a plethora of third-party support on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to, I mean, the Switch. We'll get to sales numbers in just a minute, but Switch 2 was already off to the races. So I think if I'm a third party that's looking at this new system with all of its extra power that you couldn't take advantage of when the Switch 1 was out, I think Baldur's Gate 3 and Expedition 33 are locked to come to Switch 2. I will bet money on it, because if they got Baldur's Gate 3 and Clair Obscur working on Series S, there's no reason why it can't work on this.
No, and it's more product, and it is kind of more product to get running on this thing, honestly, because it will overtake Xbox sales quickly.
Yeah,
give it a year or two, it'll do it.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get to Xbox woes in a bit too. This is a 2 review, so we'll kind of segue off the other games we're playing. What other games are you playing besides Switch stuff?
I mean, I've been playing a lot of League of Legends as per usual. I've been playing Pokemon TCG in the real world. But yeah, no, pretty much for the last month, I've been pretty much playing nothing but my Switch 2, trying to putting it through its paces and really trying to get a nail down on the system. I truly don't understand the sentiment of disappointment around this console, and we'll talk about that more during the review. But like, this is everything that we all wanted. So,
what you're expecting? This is
what were you expecting? I don't... Like, they could have lit a torch to the Switch name and came out with some crazy ass bullshit that all of us would have been like, what? Versus a solid console that does what we needed to do. Still wish there were themes, but we can talk about that in the review.
Yeah.
And get into our first story here before you start talking about Clair Obscur, just so we can, it's a more natural segue. The lack of themes has not stopped people from buying the Switch 2. No. There was a leak last week saying that the Switch 2 sales have officially hit 5 million units. Apparently that was wrong, and Nintendo themselves came out and debunked it instead of having some false glory hang above their heads. Apparently the number is closer to 3.5 million, which is still super great.
The 3.5 million is from what they said in the first 4 days of the system's launch. So that's been about a month since then.
Yeah.
So more than likely, my guess is they are around that 5, but they can't, because we're dealing with actual numbers of console hardware sold. They cannot legally say anything until they're ready to share that information with shareholders first. So because they're not ready and they want to do some more things. They're just saying that's not true at the moment, and they're going to their last official number. But really, 5 million should be correct, I would guess, at this point.
Yes. They're probably right around at this point. At this point, a month later, I'm sure that as we get further into July, they'll start to talk about sales from June, and that's when we'll probably get the more concrete number. But it's already off to a fast start. Obviously, the weird critical disappointment around the console has not stopped people from buying it. So,
no, I went to a midnight release to pick up mine, and there was a ton of people at the Best Buy. What they did was, it was different. We used to do GameStop midnight releases, and those are, I will say, better organized. But that's when I got my Switch 2. I got at Best Buy. So I waited outside. They started bringing people in one by one to get their Switch 2 pre-orders at midnight. The line was so backed up, I didn't walk into the store until 12:50.
Yeah.
So
Nintendo's still firmly on top. Switch 1, obviously third best-selling console of all time, has yet to eclipse the DS. It probably won't eclipse the PS2 now that Switch 2 is out, but still some time there. I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of people still buying Switch 1s this holiday season if they can't get Switch 2s, or if maybe they've waited this long. I don't see how that's possible, but probably still some life left in the Switch 1, especially with another Pokemon game coming out this holiday season. So, but you have been playing Clair Obscur. The Switch did not pull you in completely.
Well, it did, but I mean, I've been busy this past month. I was switching to Switch my face. So this past weekend, I had some free time. So I'm like, okay, I need to put the Switch 2 down for a minute. I need to finish X-Men 3, which I didn't realize I was that close to finishing X-Men 3. When I boot it back up, like, I'm just going straight to the end now. Okay. So, took me like 2-3 hours once I put it back up. I mean, fantastic game. We've been praising this game so much already. I really think it's going to be a difficult topic for Game of the Year. It's definitely my front runner now. We'll see what holds on to it. I don't want to go too much into it because we are going to do a review for it once you're done. There's so many reviews we need to do.
Yeah, we know. We got to get on it. Fucking shit.
But yeah, no, I'm excited. I've also, now since I beat Clair Obscur X-Men 3, I moved on to playing Date Everything on my Switch 2. We were playing that as well.
Yes,
that game's insane. I wanted to do a review on that because just how insane it is.
If you are a fan of literally every voice actor that's popular in modern gaming, you should be and anime. You should try this game out because it's so funny.
Where you just want to hear Ben Starr be a door.
Yep. And
what that means.
What a beautiful sounding door, right? All of them, really, honestly, all of the doors.
As soon as I realized he was a door, I was like, of course. This man read his script and said, "You're a door." And he's like, "I'm in." Of course he would.
Well, what's interesting is the studio is like partly founded by voice actors and stuff like that. So
that makes sense.
I'm not big into like dating sims, but
I
love a lot of these voice actors. So I'm like, I'll check this out, and it's been a little weird. It's not a game that you can necessarily play in public, depending on who you talk to.
I think the thing about it is, compared to other dating sims, is this one is just taking the piss out. It's making it a big joke.
Yeah.
Versus the other ones are being just serious and creepy.
Yes.
So I think that's why this one's getting away with it, which makes sense. The other game I've been playing, I started playing Death Stranding 1. I never played it. I made a couple attempts at it, but it is a harder game to get into at first. But Death Stranding 2 reviews have been so glowing, and instead they've addressed some of Death Stranding 1's gameplay issues. I'm like, okay, I need to push myself through Death Stranding 1. Because I've heard if you can just get over the initial hump, the game's great. But the initial hump is hard to get through. But I think I'm pushing myself through it now. And it's interesting to play. It's definitely, the more I play, I'm like, damn, Kojima's a strange guy.
Yeah. This isn't a spoiler for Death Stranding 2, but have you seen the Easter egg in the hot tub?
Where you look up and his face is in the constellation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. that was done by his staff, not at the behest of Kojima. So his staff is also some weird people too, which I feel like you have to be. I did buy Death Stranding 1 as part of the Steam Summer Sale, so I do have it, and I was intending on trying to play it as well before Death Stranding 2. Well, not before Death Stranding 2 came out, but sometime this year to possibly get to Death Stranding 2, because I think I don't think there's anything coming out in August that I give a fuck about.
Unless Nintendo does the direct soon, which I don't know if they are at this point.
Yeah, I honestly don't think they're doing it direct until September. To be completely honest with you, I don't think they're gonna just ride high with Mario Kart and Donkey Kong into September. But Metroid doesn't have its release date yet, does it?
Nope.
So they have to do one in September. They have to, because Metroid has to have its release date, and they probably have a game set for January or February that they have to announce and get out there, because that's usually Nintendo's typical MO. But yeah, I did buy Death Stranding to give it a shot, because I do like Kojima. I just
Death Stranding weird. Death Stranding 1 is a stranger game, and it is a harder game to get into, but we'll see. I may still be coming out like the hump area to get through, but everyone I've talked to who's finished it says if you get through the hump, it is a great game.
I mean, this year it's one of the highest rated games of all time. Currently on OpenCritic, it's sitting at a critical score of 89, with 96% of critics recommending it. And crazily enough, this is probably some gaslighting, but it has a player rating of 100. So I don't know what that means, but
I mean, I'm guaranteeing this game is now Death Stranding 2 is a lock now for Game of the Year nom.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll. I think this is Expedition 33 is to lose.
Yes.
But I think it's guaranteed you'll get nominated. I think it and Split Fiction,
and
Expedition 33 are locks right now.
Yeah.
The rest of the 3 slots are up for grabs, but those 3 games are punched their tickets already.
I wouldn't be surprised if Monster Hunter squeaks in there. I firmly believe that Ghost of Yotei will be in there. And then
Donkey Kong,
Dark Horse, I think. Same with Metroid Prime 4, Dark Horse. Blueprints, yep. Borderlands 4. A lot of the previews for Borderlands 4 were really glowing as well. So
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Yeah, there's a lot on the table, but I agree with you.
Just looking have punched it.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking quickly at some of the reviews here, IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is a triumphant sequel that emphatically delivers on the promise of its original. Game Rant gave it an 8 out of 10. Death Stranding 2 is a marked improvement over the original game with engaging gameplay and jaw-dropping graphics. Reminder that it is on the Decima engine, which makes the Horizon games. Just a reminder.
That's one of the best engines in existence.
Yeah. Game Informer gave it an 8.8 out of 10. What keeps me coming back the most, though, and the reason I will continue to make deliveries after publishing this review, is Death Stranding 2's boundless sincerity. The cast is fighting for connection in the future, and I am rooting for them, even when they think they're being a little bit weird. So yeah, some really just high scores, high praise for Kojima Studios. Very, very cool to see them succeed, especially after the first one was so divisive. Like that game divided the world up. But let's stray away from the people that are having a good day, and talk about the people that are having a bad day. Mindseye, game that neither of us have played, but we have definitely watched the trash fire from a distance. It was a GTA killer, cyberpunk GTA kind of clone, called Mindseye, that was supposed to be the jumping off point into this like metaverse style like world type thing, but it was the metaverse. But Mindseye was like the first part of that, and so it's a game where you're like a cop and you get like embroiled, and like you've seen this story before. But what nobody saw coming was how bad the game was. being the like lowest rated game of the year thus far, with tons of technical issues. I'm sure that you've probably all seen the clips on YouTube. It's sitting at a 34 critical score on OpenCritic. It doesn't even have a player score because you have to have at least 20 ratings to get a player score on OpenCritic, so it only has 4. So not only did the game not sell well, it released in a terrible state. Eurogamer gave it a 1 out of 5. IGN 4 out of 10. GameSpot 3 out of 10. Just terrible launch. Terrible launch. And oftentimes with these games that just miss the mark, studio Build a Rocket Boy has started the layoff process. So they are based out of UK, so there's a whole legal process that they have to go through. They can't just axe people like here in North America, but they have officially started that process, and it looks like about 100 people will be laid off. One person, I'm quoting the IGN article here, one person who asked to remain anonymous in order to protect their career told IGN there's no word yet on exactly how many staff are affected, but the standard 45-day consultation process started on June 23rd, which according to UK law is triggered when an employer proposes 100 or more redundancies within a 90-day period. Build a Rocket Boy currently has around 300 employees in the UK with about 200 abroad. So them getting rid of 100 is them cutting about 20% of their staff. Which is just crazy. I mean, this game was so bad that, again, Sony gave refunds for it, like Cyberpunk.
I'm pretty stingy about that. I don't like that. I'm sure not happy.
Yes. On Steam, which obviously doesn't paint the whole picture of Mindseye's popularity, but it does give us a good viewpoint on PC. The game hit a peak concurrent player count of about 3,302 players at launch, but had a 24-hour peak of just 130 players. At the time of writing the IGN article, they said there was only 52 people playing, so hardly anything at all. And it's just a trash fire, unfortunately. No really details. Oh, go ahead.
How many of those 52 people are just playing it so they can make content about it? How bad it is? Like straight up, how many people are just playing it just to play it?
I don't know. That's a excellent question. I'm sure that most people are just playing it for content, but it's not good.
No.
But I mean, all layoffs are bad layoffs, no matter what. Obviously, there was some level of mismanagement or anything, but this is pretty much the natural order of things.
The game came out in awful state, crashed and burned. Like it. This was inevitable.
This was inevitable. It's sad, and I'm hoping that all the developers will land on their feet and hopefully at a better studio. Mm-hmm. But this is to be expected when something terrible like this happens, because obviously the game's not making the money back because it's not selling because it's bad. And I think, honestly, I don't think we'd be seeing as many layoffs if the game was just bad, but because it had all of these technical problems as well, that always makes things worse. Mm-hmm. So those layoffs, pretty by the books, still terrible. Always terrible. But let's talk about ones that kind of came out of nowhere. Microsoft. So it was announced basically in the middle of June that there's going to be about 9,000 people laid off from Microsoft. And at the time...
That's company-wide. It's not the Xbox division per alone, but because Microsoft is bigger than Xbox, but still it's a lot of people.
Yes. And we didn't know at the time how many people were going to be laid off. And now we are getting a little bit more details of how it affected the Xbox brand specifically. And it's not great. To put it lightly. So we'll just go through everything that was announced. The Perfect Dark remake axed, canceled. The studio, the initiative, closed down. That studio was opened explicitly to work on Perfect Dark. Everwild from Rare, canceled. It didn't look like anybody was laid off at Rare, but the studio lead did leave the company as a result of the game being canceled. Project Blackbird, out of ZeniMax Online Studios, the studio that's making makes and maintains Elder Scrolls Online. They had another MMO in the works, and it has been canceled. Romero Games had an unannounced FPS game that was canceled. John Romero obviously is was the lead guy behind Doom and Wolfenstein, so his return to the FPS genre was anticipated. There was layoffs at Turn 10, which makes the Forza Motorsport series, not to be confused with Forza Horizon. Those games are made by Playground. So the main motorsports sim, Turn 10 Studios, 50% of their workforce was laid off reportedly. Halo Studios, the one that makes Halo.
Formerly 343.
Formerly 343, did announce that there was some layoffs, but the unknown number at this point. Looks like there was an unknown number of cuts at Raven Software, which does Call of Duty support. Staying with Call of Duty, Sledgehammer Games and High Moon Games both experienced some cuts. King, who make Candy Crush, who literally makes this ABK acquisition all of its money, claims that 10% of staff, about 200 people, have been laid off. And then Blizzard, Warcraft Rumble, which is a mobile game, operations have ceased on it, with about 100 people reportedly being laid off in the process. So, yeah, that was a lot. That's a massive chunk of people. That is probably somewhere in the rough ballpark of 1,000 people laid off from the Xbox part of Microsoft.
There's some reports saying that they're expecting 1,000 to 2,000, so we're in that range now.
So let's go ahead and let's look at each of those kind of big ones kind of independently of themselves. So let's start with the biggest one, which I think is the Perfect Dark remake. This had been formally announced back in 2018. Again, the initiative was formed strictly to make Perfect Dark, and it seems like there was a fuck ton of issues with getting it out the door. That's why we still haven't seen it to this day.
We saw it last year.
No, we've seen it to this day being released.
Oh, okay.
We saw it for the first time last year at the Xbox Game Showcase, and a lot of people were intrigued by the game, but also thought it looked a little off. I personally said it looked like it was faked. The trailer looked like it was faked. There's some
reports that it was.
Yes.
They got that live 2 minutes. They're like, this seems too good to be true.
Yes. The game was so troubled that even at a certain point, Crystal Dynamics came in to help work on it. So this game definitely was troubled, to say the least. So with that in its like, with looking at that scope, it kind of makes sense that it would get canceled since there was so many problems with it. but for the whole studio to get shut down is quite a lot. It's just wild that it's getting that the whole studio's getting shuttered. Let's take a look at Everwild next. Everwild is being made by Rare, obviously. It was announced in that 2018-2019 realm there, as this kind of like survival game with like it looked like there was some kind of pet element to it, stuff like that. Had a really intriguing art style. It was the trailers were showed off a couple times, but it just looks like it was not coming together, so they canned it. Obviously, it meant a little bit. It meant a bit to the studio lead for Rare because he left, but I mean, it was in the pipeline for 7+ years, so the fact that we still haven't got it out yet, clearly something's going on. Project Blackbird, MMO from the studio that does the Elder Scrolls Online. Personally, I'm not surprised by this. MMOs are a hard genre, but still, it apparently was supposed to be noir themed. It was supposed to be like a third person or first person action shooter, kind of like think Destiny, but set in a noir themed kind of area. Romero's unannounced FPS game. I think that I saw a report saying that he's going to shop around and try to get it published still. So he wasn't like an actual Xbox studio. So it sucks, but maybe there's still some hope left on that one. But yeah, his staff was laid off, so hopefully they find another publisher, get everybody back, and continue development on that game. I think what's most surprising for me personally is that Turn 10 gets hit as hard as it does. I mean, Forza Motorsports never sells as well as Forza Horizon, but for Forza Horizon to be successful, Motorsports has to be successful as well because they're so just like intertwined with each other. But yeah, 50% of its workforce. How do you make it? How do you make Motorsports 8 with half of your workforce?
I mean, they're not going to. They're now support studio for Horizon.
Yeah,
like that's a little death of a franchise. I mean, there is so much that is going wrong at my Xbox specifically. Like, it's not just one specific cause. It's mismanagement of the studios themselves, because I'm like, some of these studios are nothing to do with other things, and it's a mismanagement kind of in the form of Game Pass. A lot of devs, like I've seen, I forget his name, but people who worked at Larian come out and say like, there's a problem with Game Pass. It doesn't function. It doesn't work well economically.
I mean, multiple smaller studios have said if you have no intentions of putting your game on Game Pass, there's no point in releasing your game on Xbox, because Xbox has trained their user base to not buy games. We were talking about this before the show, but you brought up that Final Fantasy 16 didn't sell well on Xbox. It wasn't on Game Pass. People don't buy games on Xbox. They wait for it to be added to Game Pass. And if it never gets added to Game Pass, well, shit, they never get it.
Well, that's ridiculous to expect that from a lot of other companies like Square and stuff like that. And a lot of people bitched for years, like, why is it exclusive? Square shouldn't do exclusive games. That's why they did it. Because PlayStation people buy games.
Bought it.
Steam people buy games.
Sony themselves this week literally talked about PlayStation Plus, and they said it's going well. And they were asked the question again: Are you going to put day one releases on your platform? And they said no. What we're doing is working really, really well. We've hit a really good cadence of releasing them as part of our PlayStation Plus offerings about a year or 18 months after their release. We've hit a really good cadence with that, and that's what we're going to continue to do, because they want people to buy the games. Like, that's what it is. And Xbox has trained their player base to never buy games ever again.
It doesn't, and the format doesn't work for this industry. There's that issue. There's the issue of this Activision buyout was clearly not a white call for them because they spent. I mean, the initial asking price was $69 billion, but that's not what the final cost was because one, they had to extend it because all the paper, the law and stuff.
Yep.
So that when the extension cost extra money to Activision, so it was more like 75 billion, I think, to Activision themselves. But then you have to account all the court fees, all the other fees you have to, and then the money it costs to actually integrate the two together. So they're spending probably close to 85 billion to do all this. And this is not a gift from Microsoft. Microsoft is the second or first largest company in the world. They kind of do this with Apple. You don't get to be that size by just giving money away to a division that really doesn't do a whole lot for you. You do that was a loan, and now Daddy Microsoft wants his money back, and that's why you're seeing a bunch of games. Why Microsoft seems like going third party, and they just unveiled a Rogue Ally Xbox thingy, which is more of a handheld PC. It's very confusing.
The ROG Xbox Ally.
Yeah, it's a handheld PC. It's not an Xbox like console. But it's very confusing the marketing for this thing. But it's because my guess is the next Xbox like home console hardware is going to be something similar to that, where it's not even made by.
That's already confirmed. Sarah Bond came out and said that they're partnering with AMD for the next series of consoles, and they, instead of saying Xbox will be the best place for gamers, she said Windows 11. So Xbox is done. Xbox is no more. The next things that we are going to be getting are going to be closer to PCs, and they're going to just like the ROG Ally, you're going to be able to play your Steam library on it. You never have to interface with fucking Xbox at all.
Which, I mean, is an interesting strategy. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be successful because, like, why would you just not buy a normal PC at that point?
Well, what they're hoping for is, so the ROG Ally, the ROG Xbox Ally, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it runs a proprietary version of Windows 11 that will access your Steam library so you can play your Steam games through the Xbox app. They're hoping that the more time you spend in the Xbox app, the more likely you are to sign up for Game Pass.
I mean, I see the strat. It's not going to work.
Yeah, probably not.
Because the problem is more than likely because the Rogue Xbox Ally, whatever the fuck it's called, is expensive. It's like $800 to $1,000. This was $450. So because this is
even further to that point. This was $650.
But there's a catch with this one and this thing. So the main both ways you buy games on this is the eShop. So Nintendo may be taking a small loss on this. Well, probably not. They usually don't, but they don't making a lot on this because they're gonna make it on the back end because of the eShop. Same thing with the Steam Deck. Valve made. I don't know if Valve's making money on that or not. But the only thing you can buy, I think
at this point they probably are. Yeah.
Yeah, but the majority of those games, I don't know if you can even access in our store on the Steam Deck.
You can if you go through the process of putting Windows on it. You can, but 9 people out of 10 aren't doing that.
And why would you not? Why would you not just want to use Steam?
Yeah, I mean, Steam OS is so good that everybody wants it on the other handhelds, and that's why Steam now relented so that you could put Steam OS on ROG Ally or the Lenovo Go, all that shit.
So they're making money back in. That's why Sony kind of so we'll kind of get to Sony in a bit, but for the most part they focus on the console because the PlayStation Store. The problem is, okay, so if Steam is native to these next Xbox consoles, that means Microsoft's not getting that cut anymore.
Yeah. On
the back end. So which means they need to actually make the money up front, like the ROG Ally. And so I mean a console like that will be expensive up front. So you're still gonna have a PlayStation 6 theoretically, maybe a bit more expensive. So let's just say $600 for the base model. I'm guessing. But considering Pro, whatever. More than likely, you're looking at a new Xbox PC hybrid, low end 900. That's my guess.
Yeah.
At that point, you can just get an actual PC.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying that that's what they're intending to do.
No, it's not a good idea though.
Yeah. Let's get back on these Xbox layoffs because there's a lot of layers to this, right? So, during this all stems from just a huge mismanagement of the Xbox brand for honestly the last 20 years, probably. That we'll say 15.
I would say
We'll say 15.
I would say at least till 2013. I think it's the golden point with the start. But 2010.
Yeah, 2010, because so you had like Gears 3 release, and then the first party offering started falling off a fucking cliff as they started to chase Connect and stuff like that. So that's why mismanagement starts 15 years. They got through Red Ring of Death and then fucking couldn't figure out how to get their shit together after that. So I'm gonna say 15 years for because of that. That was kind of the start of decline, and multiple people have said the same. One of the founders of the Xbox team has came out and said Xbox doesn't know how to ship big games anymore, which they fucking don't, because how many of them have you seen? And the Activision Blizzard, just like you said, it made Xbox, who went from a footnote on Microsoft's year-end revenue to being so much more, because they have to get back probably, I mean, to be profitable, you have to get back $100 billion. Call of Duty ain't gonna do that.
They spent $85 billion probably to do this. Microsoft board want that back with interest.
Exactly. So you've got to make $100 billion now on a brand that has been floundering for the last 10 years. So now, yeah, Satya Nadella is deep in Microsoft's pockets, and that's why you see all of this stuff happening. So but it's not just Satya Nadella that's the problem. Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, Phil Spencer are so fucking out of touch. They don't know what the fuck's going on. Open invitation to come on our show, by the way. I'd love the opportunity to ask you some questions. But let's just get into the absolute fucking hypocrisy that are these layoffs by looking at Phil Spencer's actual memo to his staff. Let me set some context for you, though. They are up. Xbox is more successful than it's ever been in this moment right now. Revenue for Xbox went up like 5% thanks to Call of Duty and Candy Crush and all of the shit that people are spending money on day in, day out. So, why did they lay off people? That's a fucking excellent question. Let's look at actual Phil Spencer's actual memo announcing these layoffs to the staff. This is his memo to the developers he was laying off, that Microsoft was laying off. And then we'll discuss it after I'm done. I'm quoting Insider Gaming's article that has the full breakdown of it. So Phil Spencer says, "Today we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization. To position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas, we will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specific of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. We must make choices now for continued success in future years, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. We will protect what is thriving and concentrate efforts on areas with greatest potential, while delivering on the expectations the company has set for our business. This focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come. Prioritizing our opportunities is essential, but that does not lessen the significance of this moment. Simply put, we would not be where we are today without the time, energy, and creativity of those whose roles are impacted. These decisions are not a reflection of the talent, creativity, and dedication of the people involved. Our momentum is not accidental. It is the result of years of dedicated effort from our teams." HR is working directly with the impacted employees to provide severance plan benefits aligned with local laws, including pay, healthcare coverage, and job placement resources to support their transition. Employees whose roles were eliminated are encouraged to explore open positions across Microsoft Gaming, where their applications will be given priority review. Thank you to everyone who has shaped our culture, our products, and our community. We will move forward with deep appreciation and respect for all who have contributed to this journey. Phil. The fuck?
What a bunch of corporate nothing. Again.
So, I'm going to start off with something that I do agree with that Phil said. And this is going to be surprising to you. He says in his second passage there that we must make choices now for continued success in future years, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. I agree with that sentiment. If the Perfect Dark remake was not working out and you couldn't get it across the line, that's a pretty niche title. If you couldn't get it across the line, I totally understand the logic of canceling it. You probably shouldn't have showed it off last year, but I totally understand canceling it if it wasn't coming together. You don't want to have a Mindseye situation where you release something and it just gets fucking destroyed. But what I don't understand is how you're still able to cancel that project, lay off the entire staff, close the studio, when you yourself said, we have more players, more games, more gaming hours than ever before. Our platform hardware and game roadmap has never looked stronger. Bro, why are you laying off people?
I could tell you.
How fucking tone deaf is this response? Like, this response was so bad that people are calling for Phil Spencer to fucking resign. And God damn it, he should.
I mean, he needs to resign a long time ago. It sounds weird. At this point, I feel like he's done more damage to the brand than Don Matrick did.
Yeah, I think so. Because if you look at Phil Spencer's reign over Xbox, they have not shipped any huge games that haven't had a ton of fucking problems. Like, honestly, the magnum opus of Phil Spencer's reign over Xbox, crazily enough, is Indiana Jones. And it released last year, and it came from Machine Games, who's Bethesda. Like, that's his magnum opus.
I mean, I don't know if I would go to that route, but even still, it's just like they're really... The track record he has, I mean, Xbox One era was just barren. Mm-hmm. He spent this early era, he spent the past 5 years buying publishers. Because I mean, if we just account for, I say $85 billion, that's just for Activision alone. There's still the $7 billion they bought for Bethesda, and then they didn't have much court fees, but they probably had some court fees to do it.
Yeah.
And then the time it takes to merge the two, so you're probably looking at $10 billion. But it's all said and done. Like, $95 billion just gone for what? At this point, payoff. Like,
I wonder if they've even made back their money on Bethesda.
No,
because Starfield underperformed, Fallout 76 underperformed, Indiana Jones definitely didn't sell enough to make back the money.
No,
and neither has Doom.
Here's the thing. I think I agree with you. Starfield did underperform, obviously. It wouldn't have. Even despite how bad it is, it wouldn't have, not for one thing. His brainchild. No, not exclusive. His brainchild of Game Pass.
Yep.
If it was paid only, the fact that it's not that great would have been irrelevant because it's Bethesda game. People would have bought it.
You're probably right.
Not as successful as like the Fallouts were, the Elder Scrolls, but because word of mouth would have tampered it a little bit. But I think it's sold enough to be successful. Game Pass is the economics of Game Pass are just so bonkers. I don't think they got my money back on Bethesda.
Well, and it's damaged the Xbox brand. Like just like we talked about, Xbox players do not buy games anymore.
No. And it's very clear this is an industry that relies on upfront game sales. Or the game is free to play and you rely on microtransactions on the back end.
Yeah.
But when you're just putting games on a subscription service, which have varying amounts of budget, and they don't really have because Starfield doesn't really have microtransactions as far as I'm aware.
I don't think so. No, I mean there's the DLC that was paid, but
yeah, so they're really not getting a chance to make money because the money you're getting from Game Pass has to go into one funding the game in the first place. And Starfield was not a cheap game to make. There's no way it was. But also you just need to pay third parties to be on the Game Pass as well, and that's gonna be able to pay because those are like, I want you to recover the cost it was. Plus, what would make cost to port the game, and then cost what I'm gonna lose from not making sales on your platform.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, most small developers don't even want to put their games on Xbox because they know that Game Pass is kind of a crap deal. You just release it on Switch and Steam, you're gonna make money hand over fist. Throw in a PlayStation port for some extra cash, bada bing, bada boom. That's all you got to do. But
like, I go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're good.
I'm gonna say, I mean, ultimately, I think the downfall of Xbox. Well, one, it really started in 2013 because they were not able to recover when Dometric did.
Yeah.
But Phil Spencer threw a Hail Mary, which that was Game Pass, and it wasn't a good Hail Mary. Let's be real. It was not the solution to their problems. Like the solution was the same thing Sony did in the PS3 era, because at the beginning of that era, Microsoft was cleaning their clock. So Sony buckled down and started making good games for the PS3.
Well, so I'm gonna have a little bit more nuance to take on that. I think Game Pass could have been successful if they just did what Sony is doing now with PlayStation Plus. So in 2017, I think it was, but before the Bethesda acquisition, Xbox bought Undead Labs, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and a bunch of these like AA studios, and like putting out the statement of like, we believe in smaller scale games that are gonna do well. And if they just stuck to releasing those games on Game Pass and then maybe releasing the bigger stuff later down, I think Game Pass would have worked out pretty fine. Well,
yeah, but the issue is not what he did. The issue is
exactly
because Sony used PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium as a supplementary income, not the main driver. He wanted Game Pass to be the main driver, and it just could never be that. So because he put all the eggs in that basket, which was never going to be the solution to the problem. The solution was, it sounds corny, if you build it, they will come for games. Make good games. The Switch One, we were talking about it earlier, the Switch, how bad it was in terms of performance, still sold like crazy. Why? Because there was a shit ton of games for it.
Yeah.
So that is the solution all along. Like, and so as what made recovered PS3 was the games. So like, I don't. He always has done this. He always said, do the Xbox One era. He tried his A's in the Game Pass basket. They mismanaged their studios in Xbox One. I mean, the fact that the story is Marvel went to Xbox first to make a Marvel game, and they turned them down. And like, okay, we'll go to Sony, and Sony's like, yeah, I'll make a Spider-Man game. Well, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just that though. That he missed out on Guitar Hero being an exclusive.
Like,
there's Destiny being an exclusive. Like, he's fucking blind.
But he does, because if you also look at even now, Sony's good at recognizing talent. I mean, Stellar Blade's not a Sony studio. It's not really a Sony IP, but they saw that talent. Like, no, we want to help you get your game out. Death Stranding's technically not.
Yep.
And then there's other games coming out. I think Where Winds Me, I think was announced recently. Tides of Annihilation. So like the China Hero project that Sony does. So Sony's looking for new, fresh talent to make stuff for PlayStation. The things Xbox has really gone after recently, if you look at their marketing deals, we'll look at early Xbox One. Rise of the Tomb Raider was exclusive to Xbox for a year.
It did terribly.
Because
it released the same day as Fallout 4.
Yeah, but my point being with that is Tomb Raider was an established brand at that point. with the history with PlayStation. So he targeted somebody that had a history somewhere else because he wanted that history to come to him instead of looking for new talent. And it repeated itself. Who has the marketing for Persona right now? Xbox.
Yep.
But what is the history of Persona? PlayStation. He went after that because he wanted the history of that franchise. You only want the glory that was already there and just for himself. Buying Activision, buying Bethesda, just already established things, just taking their glory for themselves. You know, it's part of our thing. Instead of building a backbench and fostering that for themselves. Shito came out of nowhere. I mean, Kojima's a brand name, but it's a whole new story by himself. These other China, like Lost Soul Aside's coming out soon. Sony finds new talent and brings them up. And they foster their talent. So Nintendo does the same thing. He does not understand fostering talent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he started to when he bought like Double Fine and Ninja Theory and stuff. I think that was, but then those games took time to incubate. Those games took time. Hellblade took like 7 years to make. Yeah.
To be frank, I think it would be way too long for Hellblade 2.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, which might speak to the mismanagement at Xbox, but regardless, none of those stuff were gonna sell Game Pass as he pitched it. So then he has to do the 180 flip and go, okay, we got to look for the biggest of the big to put on Game Pass, and that's when he buys Bethesda and then Activision Blizzard.
The biggest Call of Duty. There's nowhere to go from here.
Yeah, you are still fucked no matter what, my dude. And you have the largest game in the world. Where do you go now? You don't go anywhere.
I mean, there is a line of thinking, which I think kind of shows the issue was where, because I think there's also a Phil Spencer's fault, obviously, but also it's emblematic of a larger problem. These patterns repeat itself. Of the 3 console manufacturers, where are 2 of them located?
In in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Microsoft's the only U.S. one. This mindset Phil Spencer has is a distinctly U.S. one.
Yeah.
And it leads to a lot of our troubles if you haven't seen the other economic things going on right now.
Yeah.
Among other things. But these type of American way of thinking leads to these type of outcomes. So this isn't surprising, unfortunately, but it just shows it doesn't work. Because Japanese way of doing it, foster their own talent, has led PlayStation and Nintendo to great success.
Yes. And not being afraid to come up with new ideas either. Like, none of Xbox stuff is like wholly unique. I mean, for God's sake, the Coalition who makes the Gears games, instead of finishing the storyline that they started in 4 and 5, Gears 4 and 5, that was like panned, instead they're like, okay, we're just gonna go back to the fucking original shit. We're just gonna go back. Like, there's nothing like, they're all just so devoid of any kind of creativity. Like, my heart goes out to fucking Playground. It seems like they're the only ones that have shit going on, man. Like, because like all the creativity has been ripped out of Rare.
But there's other games that Microsoft has released that have creativity. But Sons of Midnight, I've heard is really good. You played that?
Yes.
Did it do that well though?
No, probably not. It's
a shame because
even to the point where one of the people I watch heavily on YouTube, Skill Up, was even saying, like, when they announced layoffs, I thought Compulsion was going to go, and thankfully they didn't. But like, yeah, I don't think it did.
I mean, a game like that doesn't sell an environment you created in terms of Game Pass, and it's not something so. PC players, I've noticed the PC players like to do is, since it's on Game Pass, there's something they want to play, they'll get the $10 subscription and just pay the $10 and then cancel it. And then PlayStation, well, there's no access to Game Pass, and you're not. Certain games haven't made their way over. Like South of Midnight probably should have released. I would have bought it on PlayStation. So, like, they are putting themselves in an awful spot
Yep.
And everything that's going wrong is just years of bad decisions compounding on top of each other. There is no one cause. It is multiple factors just coming into one.
But it does all stem back to management. Like, to be honest, like, it all stems back to I don't think that Phil Spencer thought he had a great idea and then just couldn't execute it. And unfortunately, that idea was something that you can't take back. You can't just close down Game Pass and say, well, now you guys have to buy your games. You can't do that now. You cannot do that.
The only way they can do it is, in a sense, wean people off of it. That's what they have to do. They have to wean people off of it, which is going to take a while to do. But I mean,
how would you even do that, though?
They've already begun. Because they've made the day and date stuff highest tier only instead of being everything.
Yeah.
And then they're increasing the price bit by bit, and eventually, well, if there's no more console, those people who are on the console buying Game Pass slowly trickle out elsewhere. Could be the PlayStation, could be the PC. I don't know. But in a sense, you starve it. And so instead of just making Game Pass slowly doing this, trickling upward, and doing this, back down to zero, just kind of soft landing it.
Yeah. Suppose so. I mean, it's just terrible. No matter what, it's just fucking terrible. I just can't believe it. That especially that fucking art, the memo from Phil Spencer is just so out of touch. It's just so out of touch.
They say crap about this. I mean, we need games that give us prestige. Close down Tango Gameworks right after the release Hi-Fi Rush.
Yep.
Why in the world, if you're a developer, would you want to work for Microsoft right now?
I agreed. Well, you want to hear something that's going to make that even worse? Let's get into it. Laid off workers should use AI to manage their emotions, says Xbox exec. So I'm quoting the Verge article on this subject. Sweeping layoffs announced by Microsoft this week have been especially hard on the gaming studios, but one Xbox executive has a solution to, quote-unquote, help reduce the emotional and cognitive load that comes with job loss. Seek advice from AI chatbots. In a now-deleted LinkedIn post captured by Aftermath, Xbox Game Studios' Matt Turnbull said that he would be remiss in not trying to offer the best advice I can under the circumstances. The circumstances here being a slew of game cancellations, services being shuttered, studio closures, and job cuts across key Xbox division as Microsoft lays off 9,100 employees across the company. Turnbull acknowledged that people have some strong feelings about AI tools like ChatGPT and Copilot, but suggested that anybody who's feeling overwhelmed could use them to get advice about creating resume, career planning, and applying for new roles. Microsoft have loudly embraced AI, having announced plans in January to invest $80 billion into AI infrastructure prior to the latest wave of job cuts. It's probably where all the money that they're saving is going, is to beating everybody at AI. Yeah, here's the full deleted post, so we can really just cringe awful things. These are really challenging times, and if you're navigating a layoff or even quietly preparing for one, you're not alone, and you don't have to go it alone. I know these types of tools engender strong feelings in people, but I'd be remiss in not trying to offer the best advice I can under the circumstances. I've been experimenting with ways to use LLM AI tools like GPT or Copilot to help reduce the emotional and cognitive load that comes with job loss. Here are a few prompt ideas and use cases that may help if you're feeling overwhelmed. Oh my God. Career planning prompts, resume and LinkedIn help, networking and outreach, emotional clarity and confidence. If this helps, feel free to share this with others in your network. Stay kind, stay smart, stay connected. What the fuck? What the fuck?
I mean, yeah, this is also another thing Microsoft's doing to save money because they want fucking AI. I mean,
you as a human, how are you so detached from reality that you say, hey, go to go to Chat GTP to fix your fucking problems with you getting laid off. Like, how are you that devoid of humanity?
I mean, I generally believe at a certain amount of money people make, they lose humanity. Like they actually become mentally ill. I genuinely believe that.
I'd say there's plenty of evidence for that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, this AI push, I think, is emblematic of that. Like, I personally believe AI is a bubble. It's going to burst. I don't believe it has a path forward. Because OpenAI, all they are losing money right now because they think they're making the back end. But once you start trying to monetize this crap,
yeah, nobody's going to use it. Pay for.
Yeah. So I think this is a bubble, a big bubble. It's going to pop. But unfortunately, all these companies are trying to shovel money into that bubble to make money. That there's going to be damage people before the bubble pops, and then obviously after the bubble pops. Because how this system works is all the little guy gets screwed over, and the big guy gets a golden parachute.
Yep. I just had to bring that up in the aftermath because it's like, what?
And there's no thing that Microsoft wants to use AI or replace devs they lost with AI and stuff like that, and we'll help streamline development. No, AI, you can tell when AI is and I don't mean using AI voice crap like that. I mean AI had a hand in making some creating divine levels or something like that, design artwork. It feels soulless.
Yeah.
And it feels gross.
You can just tell there's something missing. You don't necessarily know what, but it's missing.
It's disturbing. But even AI voices, you can kind of tell that. But especially art direction stuff, no, you can easily tell. So I think this bubble is gonna burst, but the fact that they're destroying lives so they can make a quick buck on AI is abhorrent, and eventually I think there'll be consequences. But we're in the not part where they're committing the crimes part right now, not the consequence part.
Yep, unfortunately. Well, in an effort to sweep things under the rug, Xbox announced this week that a big Sony exclusive is coming to their side, which is wild. It definitely didn't do enough to dissuade people from talking about the layoffs, but okay. So I'm quoting Game Rant's article on the subject, and I have to read the title because it's hilarious. Hell is freezing over for PlayStation and Xbox on August 26th. Because Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox Series X consoles on August 26th. And that's just wild.
It's very strange. So I heard regarding this that Xbox try to push for it, which on Xbox's end makes sense why they push for it. They want something, anything. I cannot for the life of me figure out why Sony would do this. Nothing makes sense. They're saying they're focusing on, they're only doing this with live service games on a case-by-case basis, which
yes,
okay, I get that. I feel like the goalpost keeps kind of moving, because it'll be there. I get it because of that MB twist your arm. Bungie, I get it because that was part of the agreement. Helldivers 2 has no such thing. You flatly own this IP. You don't have to do anything.
You own Arrowhead.
You don't own Arrowhead, but they own the IP itself. So Arrowhead can't do this without Sony going.
Oh, okay. I thought they owned Arrowhead. Okay.
No, they don't. It's a very a second party studio situation.
Okay.
But again, despite Arrowhead, even though Arrowhead say they would want to do this, they can't do it without the okay from Sony because Sony owns the Helldivers IP. So again, it balances why you could have kept twisting the knife here, because they're not putting it on Game Pass, so which tells me one, considering what we just talked about earlier, I don't think it's gonna sell well.
No.
So now I get why Sony doesn't want to put it in Game Pass because I spent money to port this to you thing, give me my money.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to test it out more and see how to do it. I'm not comfortable with the idea because the only reason I'm comfortable with the idea is because we've seen what happens to Xbox doing this stuff because it devalues the brand. But PlayStation's in a position right now where they are clearly the only home console really, because the Switch 2 is a hybrid, and PC is its own lane. So Sony's kind of in its own lane by itself anymore. Because Xbox is just dying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I feel like this is a weird way of either throwing a life ring to them, which again, why would you do that? There's some people theorizing that maybe they're using this as like a stick, you could kind of like, or carrot, kind of, hey, since Xbox is collapsing, here's a game of ours you can try. If you like it, come over to our side, you can get more. Maybe this is just about live service. I don't know. If it's just live services and there are not many of them Sony's doing anymore, I can sell it, but I better not see any like single player games. None of those should make their way. No God of War, no Last of Us, no Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that it's just going to be the live service games. I think I agree with you. I think it's two things. I think that's let's put this live service over there, because the more players playing live service games, the more money we make. I mean, that's just simply what it is. So I think this is an attempt to just, especially since all of their live service have gone to shit except for Helldivers, I think this is just an attempt to extend the life of Helldivers by bringing some more people in. But I also think that you're right in saying that this is a PlayStation game. It will be, the first logo you see is going to be PlayStation Studios or what the fuck ever. And so I think this is like the bridge. Like, if you like this game, guess what? We've got it and a fuck ton of other ones on our platform. Why don't you trade in this Xbox for a PlayStation, and we'll get you set up real nice. I do think that that's the idea. I think, unlike what Game Rant said, hell's freezing over, I think that the true hell is freezing over if Spider-Man, God of War, Last of Us cross that line, which I don't think that they will. I think you're right that would devalue the brand. I think Sony knows that. And I hope Sony knows that. And I think this will just be like a Helldivers is growing great. Let's continue letting it go great by bringing in some new players that may have been interested in the game. If we make some more money off of it, great, because that game's probably already made back its budget and then some. So this is just icing on top of the cake at this point.
It wasn't even Arrowhead who made the port for Xbox. It was Nixxes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it probably wasn't that much to port it over.
No.
But it does also give me concern of, okay, so that means Nixxes did. It means Nixxes has obviously dev kits for the Xbox. They better not be doing they better not be doing Spider-Man or God of War or anything like that. Leave those, because
I think that would be the hell freezes over moment.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. Because Helldivers, while yes, it is a PlayStation Studio title, because it did release day and date on PC, it doesn't have that PlayStation like power. I don't know, power. What's what I'm looking for? A lot of people don't associate it as a PlayStation game, weirdly enough, even though it absolutely is. Whereas God of War, Last of Us, Spider-Man, all of those games, even Stellar Blade, have that. This is a PlayStation game aura to them.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping those games are like no. Those games need to. And now, granted, I don't think they would make their way over to Xbox. They're not going to do day and day, I don't think, because they're not even doing PC day and day for single player games. I don't think they ever will for those.
No.
So they seem to be holding to that. So we'll see. I because Sony has done this in such a unique way, I'm not fully going to go like Sony's going third party like Microsoft is, but it is kind of like you're getting very close to a line I'm very uncomfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. As long as they keep it to a few live service titles, I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think this is just them fleecing the game-starved market of the Xbox.
Which it could be, yeah, which I get. I mean, it is a game.
I think it's a bold thing to release this on Xbox the same day that Gears 1 is releasing on PlayStation. Like, that's them saying, you've played this shit before. You've not played this shit.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I'll probably buy Gears 1 for the PlayStation just because why not? Now, granted, it also could be a case of they don't feel concerned about putting the game on Xbox anymore because, like, if Xbox has come to them, I'm more than likely they talk to each other and have told each other what exactly they're playing for next gen. People talking, and there will be a PlayStation 6. It will be called the PS6, and that will be the end of that. They ain't doing anything different. It's not going to be some hybrid PC thing. Will be a PS6.
Yeah.
The Xbox is probably not going to be a normal console. It'll be a hybrid of some sort. So they're just going to, in a weird sense, because Microsoft's already kind of pulling out of the console market. Someone's going, I don't go fuck that. This is my kingdom, so whatever.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that they're going to stick it just to the live service games and fleece the Xbox players for some money. Maybe convert a couple of them over to Xbox, over to PlayStation, and call it a day.
It could be. As I said, they're getting close to a line, so don't go past the line, Sony.
Yeah. I get you wanting to make some money, but let's not get too crazy here. So let's get into some non-Xbox news. Over the last few weeks, both Capcom and Arc System Works have done presentations about some stuff that they've got upcoming. Both of them pretty inconsequential, to be honest with you. So we'll quickly go through these. Let's start with Capcom first. They showed off some more Pragmata, still giving
Looks
that a little bit of RE4 mixed with a little bit of Dead Space mixed with a lot of robots. Your little girl buddy Diana is an android, and she hacks the enemies. You shoot them down as protagonist Hugh Williams. Looks a lot more strategic than at first glance, because you do have to hack and then do damage. Looks interesting.
Was an interesting mechanic. Yeah, that was definitely a weird mechanic I saw when they were showing it. I'm like,
Yeah, it is slated for 2026. It will be hands-on at Gamescom in August, so we'll probably get some more previews of that, releasing for Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. They then showed off Sagat coming to Street Fighter 6. Cool. Whatever. They then announced swimsuit outfits coming to the characters in August, and god damn, Marvel Rivals has unlocked the gooning community, and so now every game is fucking doing it, and I think it's the best thing in the world.
Of course you do. I was gonna say Street Fighter 6 already had gooner game allegations with. The lead up to Street Fighter 6.
Cammy.
Well, Cammy's always been. Cammy's been that way for 2-3 decades now. But
that's my point.
First time they showed Jury, they showed her fucking feet.
Yes.
And then Cammy's taunt they showed, and just like, they have allegations, and this is like, no, these are not allegations anymore. You are now convicted of being a gooner game. Street Fighter, like, what the fuck?
Yes. So it's, I guess it's seven characters get the swimsuits. It's Cammy, Luke, Chun-Li, Manon, and Jamie, Kimberly, and AKIs. And
Aki.
Well, whatever. I don't play the game. All of them are racy, to say the least. Cammy and Chun-Li's full ass is out. Like, I've seen so much video game ass in the last 8 months. It's crazy.
Like, of course they fucking did Cammy and Chun-Li for this.
Oh,
like,
fuck yeah, they
Cammy
did.
and Chun-Li. 3 decades worth of the character for this moment. Let's go. Like, god damn it.
Yeah, two characters who you could always see their ass.
At least it's not all women. I'll give them that. At least they do it for a couple of dudes. But like, Jesus Christ.
Yes. As expected, the dudes are just in trunks and have their chests out, but the women are their full asses are out. Oh man, it's like I said. Honestly, 2025 with Data Everything, Marvel Rivals, and now this 2025 and Stellar Blade coming to PC. 2025 is the year of the Gooner. It really just is. Okay, it really just is. And Marvel Rivals is gonna make sure that it continues. Like, that's just what it is.
I'm not sure how to feel about this.
That's just what it is.
It's like, God damn it.
It's just what it is.
Goonie everywhere.
2025, the year of the Gooner. Capcom also talked a bit about Resident Evil Requiem.
That's good.
And everybody was like, oh, when they announced it at Summer Games Fest, everybody was like, oh, we're returning to Raccoon City. Where the fuck's Leon? And they kind of
the reason they gave.
Yeah, they
Said,
kind of gave the reason why he's like.
I love the reason why. The reason is basically this man would be 50 years old by Resident Evil 9 time. This man has seen some shit. You can't make a scary game for him anymore.
Yeah. Their official announcement was, we always thought about making Leon the protagonist, but making a horror game based around him is difficult. He wouldn't jump at something like a bucket falling. No one wants to see Leon scared by every little thing, so he's actually quite a bad match for horror, which I think is so cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Look at RE4. RE4 is action horror. It's not survival horror. Leon in that game is not really scared of anything, and the game kind of leans into that. I mean, literally, there's a scene where I think I mentioned this before, where chainsaws go burst through the wall and they're going down it, and instead of backing up away like, oh shit, he runs towards the wall with the chainsaws on and kicks flip off of it. Like, it would have just been just take a step back, but no, you had to be that guy.
Yeah. So, but I think what this we've long talked about, this is the golden age of Capcom, and I think this statement kind of just like sums up why they're taking a critical look at things and going, yeah, that doesn't make sense, let's change it. And I think it's just so cool. Capcom's great. Even though I'm saying that this presentation was inconsequential, Capcom is not. So fabulous.
I mean, I think Leon will show up in the game, but he'll obviously will be an NPC.
Yeah. And, honestly, I think he'd just be like a fan service Easter egg thing. I don't even think he'd be an NPC. Like, to be honest with you. They talked about Monster Hunter Wilds a bit, which is super cool. Still love this game, even though it kind of has dipped off for me in terms of like priority. The title update 2 was announced, showing off like a festival type thing and everything like that. Unfortunately, they brought back underwater fights with Lagiacrus. This fucking pisses me off. Lagiacrus, one of my favorite monsters, condemned into one of the worst Monster Hunter games because you have to swim to fight him. They bring back Lagiacrus. Cool. They bring back swimming. Why? Like, he can fight on land too, you bastards. But they also even teased title update 3, scheduled launch in September with a new monster. So they're just kind of going down the path. Kinitsugami, Path of the Goddess, came out last year. Got lots of praise, very niche title, released on Switch 2, same day. Also got some more praise on Switch 2. They are celebrating its first year anniversary with just some in-game items that new and existing players can get, which I think is super cool. That they're celebrating that game. That game was kind of a AA title for Capcom that they're still standing behind. And that pretty much sums up the Capcom one. Like I said, pretty inconsequential and absolutely worthless because they didn't announce the Ace Attorney 7. So, fuck them. Capcom, worst company ever.
Where's my Ace Attorney 7, Capcom?
Until they give me Ace Attorney 7. It's gotta be in fucking development. Like, it just has to be.
It's something Ace has been in development.
It just has to be.
I mean, I'll even pick Ace Attorney 3 or Miles Edgeworth's Investigation 3. Something.
Yeah.
You ported everything, Capcom, so where's the next Ace Attorney game?
There's nothing left.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing left.
Yeah.
There's nothing left. And then excuse me. And then there was the Arc System Works showcase. Arc System Works, known for their fighting games, Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue, the upcoming Marvel Tokon, however the fuck you pronounce it. But they did a showcase, and it was not what people expected.
First one they ever did.
Yes, first one they've ever done. And again, not what people expected. So they started off the showcase with a game called Dear Me, I Was, and it's a textless interactive adventure game coming exclusively to Switch 2 sometime this summer. So in the next couple months. It's got a really very nice looking rotoscoped watercolor art direction, and it's from the art director. His name's Tatsuke Kanasaki, who did Another Code Recollection, which were like DS adventure games. And apparently it's about the ordinary life of a woman, both joys and sorrows, and the connection she builds with others. They then announced, so we're already off to the races of not being Arc System Works, in theory. They also announced Double Dragon Revive, which is a new Double Dragon game, which is a side-scrolling beat 'em up, which is super cool. They also announced Demon's Night Fever, and they say they encourage players to enjoy all kinds of evil to the fullest. The game stars Kiyoshire, a dull boy who hates the world. He teams up with an evil god who's lost his powers to steal, abduct, and terminate. The showcase describes its genre as enemies, allies, kill, kill, kill. The more you die, the stronger you become. Raising speedrunning simulation RPG. No idea what all that means, but apparently it comes out next year. They also announced a new Bubble Bobble game, which is wild. And then they ended with Damon and Baby. Guilty Gear creator Daisuke Ishiwatari announced Arc System Works' new initiative to create smaller mid-range games outside of the fighting genre it's known for. Damon and Baby is the first game in this new pillar of the company. It follows the Demon King, who is cursed with an inability to separate himself from a human child who rides atop its back. He embarks on a journey to break this curse in an isometric action game. Damon and Baby have no release window or announced platforms. So let's get into the controversy around this. Where's the fighting games? You yourself were pretty disappointed with this showcase, right?
So here's the issue. I think I get the idea behind something like this. Announce some things that are like typical. However, going into this one, they themselves acknowledge it during the presentation. Daisuke said, people know Arc System Works for fighting games. Yeah. This is the first time you've ever done something like this. And you just announced Token. You have a major character to Guilty Gear you haven't shown anything about. And as a recording, you still haven't. So there were things you probably should have addressed in this, being the first one they ever done. If you weren't going to, and very clearly knowing what they are, what they're viewed as, even though they are correct, they do publish more. I mean, they do a lot of beat 'em ups. They did the Double Dragon. They published the River Seer Girls games. So they do more than fighting games, but they have a reputation of more of a thing specifically.
Yeah.
If you weren't going to show fighting games at all, which I'm not going to count Hunter x Hunter, because that game was just it was almost like a throwaway commercial. Like, was this in there? If you should have said that beforehand. So the fact that this was the first one you ever done, and you didn't specify that you weren't gonna do the thing that you're known for, like, that to me, that's on them, that people are looking at this badly. Like, willingly knew what you are, what people look at you as, and then don't say that you're not gonna do that thing. Like, I generally wish it would have said something else. I just wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. If this was the vibe that you were going for, you should have said, "Hey, there's not going to be any footage of Token or Guilty Gear or anything like that." On the flip side, though, I do truly appreciate this. As we've seen with Microsoft, a lot of these like smaller titles do a lot to build out a company's portfolio. So I 100% stand behind Arc System Works doing smaller projects like this.
The idea behind doing the smaller project is a great idea. I don't have anything against that. It's just the presentation, like, either A, you should have said something you weren't going to do fighting games at all, or you just should have said something about a fighting game. That way people didn't.
Yeah.
If you did, even if you don't say anything about Token at all, because I kind of get Tokens is a massive game that Sony has deep hands into. So I mean, I can understand Sony going, no, you don't get to talk about Token at your showcase. You need to talk at ours. I get that. They'll be pretty with Marvel. Guilty Gear, no one has anything about it. So you could have just said something about Lucy.
Yeah.
You could have shown the trailer. Apparently they're gonna wait till Evo to show Lucy, which is like, dog, nah. You should have. If you just would have just showed Lucy. We usually give grades when you're, and since I watched it, I'll give a grade. I have to give it. I think I'm a D minus, maybe an F. But just showing Lucy, you brought it to a B. Like, just that one little thing, I expected it from, the fighting game company.
Yeah, I'd give it like a C as well. I'd give it a C, because I mean, but I think they should have said, hey, Token will not be at this. Yeah. We're not showing off fighting games. This is an opportunity for us to show off some of the other stuff that we're working on, and I think that would have gone a long way.
Oh yeah, if they would have said beforehand, and I knew what to expect going in, then even if they could change nothing, but they just had that prerequisite, the show goes up to maybe a C. Like, my expectations were in check, but they said nothing. All they said is a new game from the Guilty Gear creator Daisuke. Like,
yeah,
holy shit, that's a big thing. I'm thinking fighting game. Yeah. And they knew that that's what people were thinking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So, like, again, that's the issue here is they know what they're looked at as, and this is the first time they've ever done this, and you should have said they were not going to do this specific thing. People's expectations were reasonable.
Yes. And I think that's something that's a problem with the industry as a whole. When somebody announces a showcase, the first thing is like hype builds. Like anytime Sony announces a state of play, if you scroll through some Twitter, you're gonna see summoning circles of Kingdom Hearts 4 news and Final Fantasy 9 remake news and like all this kind of shit. So the fact that Arc System Works announces a direct after announcing probably their most anticipated title ever in Token, that the hype train got out of control. And I think something that's understated that companies don't do enough of is tempering expectations. Just being like, hey, Token's not going to be here. Just so you know, we still hope that you watch because we have some cool stuff, but Token's not going to be here. Like Nintendo did that the week before the Switch 2 one.
Nintendo was pretty good about this. They last year a bunch of directs just said, "Hey, there will be no talk of the Nintendo Switch successor at the showcase." So because they didn't say that. People were expecting like, "Oh, Switch 2 announcement, Switch 2 announcement is gonna happen." But now that they said it before time, like, okay, so no, not to expect anything about this thing.
Got it.
So
understood.
Yeah. They did it before with like Smash Bros. Like there will be no Smash Bros. Announcements at this thing. People were like expecting trailers. Like not gonna happen. Okay, cool. But they did it right before the Sora one. I think it's like we're not gonna talk about the last character in Smash Bros. We're gonna say that for a special direct for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that they should have tempered expectations rather than build hype for something that wasn't there. Like, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Saying that the next game from Guilty Gear creator Daisuke, that's a super huge thing, and Guilty Gear fans are gonna be super excited for that. And then we're immediately let down, probably. So yeah, you have to temper expectations. I think it's great that they're pushing for more single A and double A stuff, but you gotta do it in a way that's not gonna piss people off.
That's it. I mean, they acknowledged what they're known for in the direct itself. So it's like, you kind of should have said something before this, guys.
Yes. And to be fair, like, they had some cool stuff to show off. I think Dear Me, I Was art style is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
sure the Damon and Baby game is interesting, but unfortunately now it has a taint to it. People going, "Ooh, like new fighting game," and it's going, what the hell is this? And it doesn't deserve that. Yeah. But it was put in a bad position.
Yep. Could not agree more. All right, let's get into our final story. We're gonna end with something that's a bit exciting, because this episode
we're excited. We're excited to receive some more pain.
Yeah, it's the good kind of pain. It's the pain you want, because we understand that this episode has some heavy just stuff with all the Microsoft stuff. So it was announced that Cyberpunk Edgerunners is getting a season 2. If you've been watching this channel for a while, we are big fans of Cyberpunk here. We acknowledge the mistakes that were made, but it became better. And one thing that wasn't a mistake was Edgerunners. Edgerunners is a phenomenal anime. If you haven't watched it, go watch it right now. Get ready for season 2.
Edgerunners honestly kind of saved the game because that's what people. Because I mean, Cyberpunk was making the inroads to become a better game, and by that point it probably was, but people weren't really playing it. And the Edgerunners came out, and people were like, "Oh my god, that's fantastic!" And that's what happened to me. Like, oh, I'll check out the anime. Fell in love with the whole thing. I'm like, no, I want to play Cyberpunk 2077 now. Hopefully it's good. Oh shit, it is good now.
Well, and then it became even fucking better, which is crazy. But yes, Edgerunners did a lot of work at bringing Cyberpunk back to the place where it was nominated for awards last in 2023. So, super important part of Cyberpunk's legacy, and now we're getting a season 2. So I'm looking at CD Projekt Red's own announcement on it. During its panel at this year's Anime Expo in Los Angeles, CD Projekt Red proudly announced that they reunited with Studio Trigger to create a new standalone anime set in the world of Cyberpunk 2027 titled Edgerunners 2. So they revealed the logo. It's the same logo with Edgerunners 2 in it. Panelists included Hugo Award winner writer Bartosz Stietzbor. I'm so sorry if I wrecked that name. Cyberpunk Edgerunners director Hiroyuki Imaishi, and voice actors Emily Lowe, who voiced Lucy, and Zach Aguilar, who voiced David, with host Joey the Anime Man Blizzinger. Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2 is being created by CD Projekt Red alongside Studio Trigger and will still release on Netflix. So, going further into the article here, they said about the series, David's story might be over, but there's plenty more to discover in Night City, and to again have the legendary animation studio Trigger alongside for the ride makes us all at CD Projekt Red so excited to introduce a raw, real chronicle of redemption and revenge, something unlike anything we've done before, says Stietzbor, the showrunner and story writer and producer of Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2. He will be joined by lead character designer Kano Ichigo, who did Promare and the first season of Edgerunners, and Masahiko Atsuka, who also worked on Gurren Lagann and Promare. Gurren Lagann, real nice. Who will be responsible for the screenplay and adaptation. The panel ended with an invitation to a closed-door viewing of the new teaser footage at the Peacock Theater during Studio Trigger's panel later in the evening. I don't think any of that footage has been leaked online, so unfortunately nothing like that. But super good news. Shows that there's still life in Cyberpunk's IP. Obviously there is, because there's a sequel being made to Cyberpunk 2077, the video game. Switch 2's launch of Cyberpunk was been pretty well received. It's the best selling of the third-party games, which was good. So this is coming at a perfect time because people still want Cyberpunk shit.
I mean, I'm glad that they specified that. I won't go into spoilers, but that David's story's done. They're not going to retcon any of that or try and extend the story more than it is, because the story caps off pretty well.
Yeah.
But I thought it was always the best thing to do with the stories of something like Cyberpunk, because I mean, we know the next game for Cyberpunk isn't going to have V as a playable character. I'm fairly certain of that.
Yeah.
So this is an anthropology series. We're going to follow new people every single time. So next game will have a new protagonist, and we're going to follow a new crew in Edgerunners 2. So I think this is the best case for this franchise. So I know I've already said that prepare for more tears. And it's like, oh great, you already emotionally ruined me the first time around. You're going to do it again.
I mean, Nick has a Cyberpunk Edgerunners chair that he's currently sitting in. So, So yes,
I'm so excited for Lucy to come into Guilty Gear. So I mean,
yeah,
they're going strong.
yes. I'm waiting for a price drop to get a Cyberpunk on my Switch too. I'm just waiting for a price drop. I don't want to spend $70 again. If they had released it at 50, I would have already bought it. But 70 for Cyberpunk, a little bit too expensive for me right now. But I when I buy it, I probably will do a whole new playthrough. Honestly, like I love that game. The game is so fucking good. The DLC is some of the best content in a game in a long time. Like, and I'm so excited for season 2. I might rewatch season 1.
Oh, I'm gonna rewatch season 1 beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do.
Which is so good.
Maybe make me suffer again.
It is a sad series. But
if you're watching this, you haven't seen. If you haven't watched this, you haven't seen it yet. Go watch it. It's you'll cry. But it's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. But that is going to conclude our news for this week. Stuff to look forward to on the channel. Switch 2 review coming. We're going to work on that. I need to get back on Clair Obscure Expedition 33 so we could review that. My Switch deserves to be a little bit neglected since I spent literally a whole month with it. The Metaphor review is still coming. We're sorry. It's just hard for us to sit down for 3 hours to talk.
This is true. This is true.
Like we have lives, we have jobs. Like this isn't our only job.
And I've been through some crap this past month, so I was like, yeah, I cannot have the time to do it.
We will review Donkey Kong.
Yes.
We'll probably bake in a Mario Kart review with the Switch 2 review. I feel like those are like hand in hand, honestly.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
So all of that is all stuff to look forward to, and just getting us getting back to the news. As long as there's news, I kind of have like this weird feeling that we're gonna see a news drought after this big Microsoft thing, because everybody's gonna be like, oh, let's let them fucking burn for a little bit longer before we have to burn, you know. But we have
let's get back into streaming too.
Yep, we have other video ideas for the future. I still have to do a Split Fiction review, even though even though our honestly, you can just watch our playthroughs of it and see what we thought about the game. Like honestly, honestly speaking, but yeah, so all that stuff is coming to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please like the video if you liked it. Like the video if you didn't like it, honestly. Or dislike it if you want. Either just let your opinion be known. Let us know in the comments. Are you done with Microsoft after this? Has this truly affected you to the point where you're like, wow, I really can't support them anymore? Because it certainly has me. If Phil Spencer resigns, who should take over? Because it really shouldn't be Matt Booty or Sarah Bond.
Clean house there.
I think that I strongly dislike Sarah Bond. Like anytime she speaks, it just pisses me off because she's really good at corporate speak, and that pisses me off. And let us know in the comments, what have you been playing during our little hiatus? Did you get a Switch 2? What have you been playing on it? Have you been playing Clair Obscure? How many games did you buy during the Steam summer sale? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you in the next video.
Adios.